Discourse. I'm Tyler Frater alongside Richard D. the Cruz.
Hello.
And Chief Engineer, Lieutenant Commander Connor Frater.
Good evening.
It is Monday, what's the March 16th,
Yes.
2026. Follow us youtube.com/gaming discourse, patreon.com/the gaming discourse. You can support us for $247, $10, get your name in the video credits, early access to our videos, access to our Discord server, and more. You're supposed to get weekly updates from me, but I have forgotten now 2 of the past 3 weeks because I suck.
Things are on fire.
But I will be getting back to that this week. I have an update on a project that I'm working on right now, video project, and a few other things. So I'll probably just wait until like Thursday or Friday to put that together. I think what I'm going to do is like a script preview of what I'm working on. Hopefully I'll have a lot more done by then. But yeah, I don't want to do too many, I try to keep it to once a week. And if I forget and it's already Monday, I don't want to send out like 2 or 3 emails in a week or something like that, because I send out emails if you sign up at our Patreon. So yeah, go check it out. We have lots to talk about today. We're going to be playing games. We're going to be talking about games that we played. Lots of news coming out of GDC. I'm going to have a little bit of a rant about VR later. So yeah, we're going to talk AI, but I guess we'll get to that. Richard.
Always with AI.
Always.
Always with the AI.
Always with the AI, Tony. Okay. What have you been playing?
I've been playing more Diablo 4.
Hey.
And I decided Diablo 4 takes so much time from you. Even one character, if you like it or if you don't, it still takes a lot of time. And I've been playing Rogue since it came out. And I like my Rogue, but I was scrolling through all the menus just because, when you're playing co-op or you're waiting for somebody to figure out their loadout and all that jazz, you kind of need something to do. And so I was going through all the menus, and I realized there are a lot more classes than there used to be. I think there's like 7 classes now, and then an 8th coming up soon. Paladin's coming out, but there's one I didn't know about, or maybe I ignored, called a Spiritborn. It's a Spiritborn class.
Okay.
And I saw some of their outfits like in the shop, and I was like, wow, those are some really freaking cool outfits. My character can look like that, then maybe I want to give this character a try. And I started playing as them. I started a new character, I started playing as them, and I realized that they're basically a more animalistic monk.
Okay.
So they have punches, they have clicks, but they also have like slashes. If you swing your arm, you'll get like bigger slash that's in front of you that hits an AoE.
Okay.
That was very cool. And then you have the abilities to pull enemies in, and then you can activate other abilities. You also, when I say more animalistic, you get animalistic properties depending on which pathways you choose. So I've been using a lot of Eagle. So that's a lot of electricity stuff, and a lot of if I press L2, I throw out basically feathers, but they spin around me and they go outwards as time goes on, and they hit everyone and do electricity.
Oh, okay.
Or cool. Like my ultimate, I call out a jaguar, and he does a flip, hits the ground, and then does like a whirlwind, and it's like 7 hits or something like that. So you have the essences of different animals depending on what you do. I think there's gorilla, and there's also something else. I think it's an insect, because that's how you get poison with that character. But as soon as I was playing it with them, I mentally was kind of like, oh, no. Now I want to spend time with this guy, and level him up and get to the end. I've never even beat the game. I still haven't beat the main act.
I don't think I have either.
I'm in Act 3, but my wife is going through it as well because she's catching up, and she's like, oh, remember when that thing? And I'm like, nope, I couldn't tell you. I greatly enjoyed my time with Diablo 3, but I can't tell you what happened. I can't remember.
No, yeah, neither can I.
I remember areas, but I don't remember
all I remember is Jack and Cade.
Yeah,
that's about it.
Diablo.
Jack and Cade.
So yeah, and then beyond that, I've been playing Pokopia, Pokemon Pokopia. Because
cool.
That was not one of the reasons I bought a Switch. I bought a Switch 2 because I wanted to Switch 2. But Pokopia happened to come out, coincide with when I got a Switch 2.
Wait, did you get a Switch 2 just recently?
Last Wednesday, yeah.
Oh, so that was after our previous...
2 days after.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, our pack.
Congratulations.
I got a Switch 2. Thank you.
How do you like it so far?
It's very cool. I have first world problems when it comes to having a Switch 2. And I don't know if you do. But as I explore what's on the Switch, there are a lot of things I want to play. And then there's a lot of things that I want to play that I look at and it's like, oh, Dying Light is on sale for $2. And it's like, cool. Oh, does it have a Switch 2 version? Does it have a Switch 2 upgrade? Oh, damn it. All right. Well, it might. It could.
Yeah, you don't know.
But I don't know. Like, I'm never going to know until it just like, because like, I think yesterday too, the guys who developed Tunic were just like, hey, we're going to come out with a Switch 2 patch.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
And it was a discussion I started having at work with a coworker. It's just like, if you have a Switch 1 game that came out, it would be so beneficial for you. Sure, it would take time, but it would be so beneficial for you to create a Switch 2 upgrade or update, because then you have that. You have that second wave you probably never thought you were going to get. Like that second chance, like
all that library can transfer over.
Exactly.
I'm assuming something similar probably happened between like PS3 360 and PS4 Xbox One, because during that like transition we had a bunch of games that like had PS4 and I guess this generation too, kind of.
Yes,
not as much. Did, yeah. Where it's like you have a lot of games that 2 years, into the after the game released or whatever, you have a PS5 edition or whatever. Right. So and I don't know if Nintendo's really ever been able to do that because all their consoles are like so different and a bunch of different stuff.
A little bit.
I guess they probably could, because some were just like, they're just like ported onto the next console.
It is something that I would like to slightly talk about in a tidbit later on. But yeah, you bring up a good point with that. But yeah, anyways, I was playing Pocopia. And that game is making me very happy. It is a very happy game because it is all of the things that I like about Animal Crossing and or Minecraft. But unlike Animal Crossing specifically, I don't have to play by Animal Crossing's rules. If that makes sense? Like Animal Crossing wants you to play the game how they want you to play the game.
Yeah.
It's like 10, 15 minutes, and it's like, you gotta wait. Can't do anything else anymore. Like we ran out of time. But Pocopia doesn't necessarily have that. You can just kind of do whatever you want for as long as you want. Your only drawback is the if you've ever played Pokemon, when your character uses move, it drains. I hate their phrasing. The power points, which is abbreviated to PP. So your moves, like if I see a dry patch of land and I want to vomit water onto it, you use that, but it takes a little bit of your power points. You'd have to eat fruit to get power points back, but that's no big deal. That's, as far as I am aware, the only like restriction for the game.
Okay.
You're meeting Pokemon left and right, which is kind of one of the biggest joys of the game, because there were a couple of games on the Game Boy Advance and DS that allowed you to live in the actual Pokemon world and speak to Pokemon, and Pokemon could talk. In normal Pokemon games, you are a human. You can't talk to Pokemon. You just hear them chirp or whatever. Yeah. But here you can actually talk to them. And
they all have like distinct personalities?
They all have personalities.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah. Okay.
And granted, they are a little bit on the cute side. But when I was growing up and Pokemon was big for me, you'd play the Game Boy games and you would be like, wow, I hope they really make a 3D version of this. And that time never came until within the last 10 years. And at that point, for me, I've already had like a rocky relationship with Pokemon up until then. So I can't exactly get back into it. ZA is a better example because they have it at the point where I'm like, cool, this is kind of where I want. But this one, I'm living in the Pokemon world as a Pokemon, so I can, when I'm climbing down the vine of the side of a mountain and I look over and the like Bulbasaur and Charmander I rescued are chasing each other and playing and having fun, it's another one of those examples of, wow, this world is actually living and breathing. That's cool. Yeah. And that's what I want to see out of a world that has its own universe, has its own, but every game that comes out mainline is this constricted, you're going to play how we want you to play, you know? Yeah. So, and although this is a side thing and it's not a main thing, it's, since Breath of the Wild, we've talked about it, it's Nintendo finally letting their franchises breathe a little more rather than having the old guards say this is how this game should be as it goes on. And so I'm very happy with it. It plays really well too. You've played Animal Crossing.
A little bit. I get the gist of it.
But when you move your character in Animal Crossing or you do things, there's like slight delays in things. Like your character kind of doesn't move very fast.
There's like a momentum to it.
Yeah. Nowhere to be found in Pocopia. Your character moves, he moves. Like he's fast. He does what you want him to do. There's no time wasted while you're playing it, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm still not very far, but it's not something that I think I'll keep talking about as time goes on because it's not like a story-based game, right? There's nothing I can really add to it other than the fact that that it's a very good time waster in a world that is very fun and very entertaining. So.
Are you basically doing the same kind of thing you do in Animal Crossing? Like, are you building Pikachu a house and stuff like that? Or?
Oh, so yeah. So yes, you are, but it kind of has like dark undertones.
Okay, interesting.
The more you expose yourself to Pokemon, the more there are dark undertones to the series. You're I can't. You're dog fighting.
Yeah.
Like you're dog fighting. That's what it is. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. But like in the Pokemon games, when you're playing it, they talk about a war. Like some characters, because there's a lieutenant. There's Lieutenant Surge. So what was he a lieutenant of?
Oh,
like
interesting.
obviously there's military. But that's not like those are just like little bitty, back end things. Anyways, Pocopia takes place at some point in the future. No one's around anymore. It's post-apocalyptic.
Oh, really?
Yes. So the main, where you start out at, if you go just a tiny bit north, you see a Pokemon Center that's like Crashdown. That is the main Pokemon Center of one of the cities, and it's destroyed rubble. There's no humans anymore, and Pokemon are kind of like, the main Pokemon you meet, Tangrowth. He's like, I don't know where the Pokemon are. I don't know where the humans are either. They kind of just are gone.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know any of this.
And you start building things, and everybody starts seeing like, wow, hey, you know what? We can make this place pretty nice. And then as you're, I forgot about this. As you're exploring, you find remnants of the old world. You'll find a photo someone took of their Pokemon in their living room. And it's just like, oh, that's cute. But the implications, if you just sit there and think about it for a second or two, are just like, wow, this is from the far past. These people are probably dead.
Interesting.
And this whole thing, yeah. So
that is not a concept I would have guessed is going to be in the game.
Yeah. Well, the developers of this game were the developers of Dragon Quest Builders, and that game takes place after the bad ending of one of the games.
Interesting. Okay.
And so it's like, okay, well, what if the hero didn't win and then the bad guys took over and then you rebuild everything? So kind of that same thing. Like this is something happened. Humans aren't around anymore for some reason, but you find remnants of like the old world.
That's an interesting like ecological little theme there.
Yeah. And it is very cool because, if you meet a Hitmonchan who like, he's a boxer and so he's just like, hey, come train with me, like come hit these bricks. And then you learn to punch bricks and like break them down and then you grab the stuff, Okay. And Scyther has, razors on his hands and he's like, yeah, teach you how to cut stuff. Like, let's do this. And so it's very, very fun. It's I like it a lot. It's fun. Yeah. And I'm just waiting to get to the next games. I'm probably going to start Requiem this week.
Yay.
And Monster Hunter Stories is really interesting too. Anyways, we'll get to that later. But yeah, that's what I've been playing.
Connor.
I will keep this short and concise. We're in crunch, so I haven't been playing video games.
All right.
That was short and concise. Get out of crunch, please. Hurry. Tell Phil Smith. Oh, wait, never mind.
Uh-oh.
Tell Asha I said you need to get off crunch. Tell her ChatGPT told you guys to get off crunch.
Uh-huh.
You guys will be off crunch instantly. Okay, so let's see here. So I finished Requiem. Excellent. I had a lot of fun with it. It is a very like stripped down basic Resident Evil. I sort of went back and thought about RE4 and Resident Evil Village and a lot of the boss fights and optional things, and they took a lot of that out. They really sort of stripped down, but what they left is sort of the core of Resident Evil, and they did a really good job with that. And I think the story in Resident Evil Requiem is probably the most interesting story that I have encountered in an RE, because it has to do with, I think it's both about like Resident Evil itself, and I think like and the franchise, so it's almost like a meta commentary, and you can tell, I don't know what they're going to do moving forward, but I think they want to try and do something different somehow with the story. But I thought the way this story ended was interesting. They do leave it open for like future sequels and stuff like that, but like how much can you do? How much more can you do with Leon? He's getting older, you know, how many more games, whatever. So I think there definitely is an effort to like introduce new characters and try and figure out like new paths to go. But that said, Leon was a fantastic character. Grace and Leon both have their own stories. They both have their own personalities, and both of them are brilliantly performed, and they're really fun to watch on screen. So yeah, Requiem I think is definitely like a Game of the Year contender. I've also been playing Ready or Not.
Oh, wow.
Ready or Not, I don't know if you guys have played Ready or Not.
Mm-mm.
So I'm a big fan of tactical shooters, things like, you know, Squad 44, Rising Storm, whatever that game is called, what have you, Rainbow Six, Ghost Recon back in the day. So Ready or Not is a like SWAT simulator, right? Where it's close quarters for the most part. You know, you have to go into a building, you're clearing room from room, you're using SWAT tactics, so you're not going to go up against tanks, you don't have to use massive explosives or anything like that. It's CQC, and the gameplay I think is good. There's lots of discussion about like the politics and the writing around Ready or Not, because to put it simply, it is very edgelordy.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of it comes across a lot of it makes me uncomfortable because I don't understand why you have to have certain contexts in the game, or what you're trying to say about policing and a bunch of stuff. So a lot of it comes across like it's just a lot of shock value, which is upsetting because I don't see the reason for that, and I don't see like the groundwork to make it an interesting narrative outside of, whoa, isn't this shocking? Isn't this creepy? It's like, yes. Aren't these people evil? And it's like, well, yes, but what else do you want to tell me here? Like, there's a mission where it's clearly like a pedophilia ring, and you go into like a building, and there's like a room where they take photographs, and they have like headshots of all the children, and on the wall there's like graffiti that's because I don't remember the story exactly, but like the parents sign their children up for this for some reason. So the game is set in a dystopia where like law has broken down, and Los Sueños is like a city that is engulfed in chaos and crime.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to go in and quote unquote bring order to chaos. And so in that setting, it's like, okay, well, what do you want me to say about this? What do you want to say about this? Why is this setting important? Like, give me some context. And instead it's just, they just kind of want to create like a off-putting setting, and I don't understand why. And the other thing is, it's kind of, I don't know. Well, seeing some footage from the Epstein files actually makes it a little more believable, but it's kind of ridiculous to think like a pedophile ring would like draw creepy pictures on the wall of their like photo studio.
Sure.
But
That
again,
makes sense. Yeah,
we've
right,
seen
right.
some stuff that's come out of files, so it may actually be more true than we think. But so I don't know. But that said, I kind of I put that stuff to the side. It makes me uncomfortable because I'm not one of those people that is like, sometimes I get upset because I think people, how do I put this? People see like realism and reality as an excuse to put some kind of like shocking material into a game or something, or into anything, right? And so it's like, I've seen things said that it's like, well, this is in the game because this is real. This is how it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay. It's okay. Okay, if you want to make it realistic, then fine. But like, I know there's evil in the world. A video game's not going to teach me about the realities of the dark and evil side of humanity, right? Like, I know about those things.
Yeah.
I learned about those things when I was a kid. So if you're shoving my face into it, fine. But what's the context you want to put around that? Last of Us Part 2 is about cycles of violence. It's about xenophobia. It's about intolerance. And it's about two groups of people whose hatred for each other ultimately brings down both of their societies, and both of their societies get engulfed in apocalyptic chaos, right? And so the idea is, because they couldn't break out of a cycle of violence, they destroyed themselves and consumed their own world, right? So now, that does not mean that Last of Us Part 2 was a perfect story. There's a lot problematic in it. But what I said right there is a lot of the point of the violence in the game. Mm-hmm. So when characters do something violent, it's because it's part of this world where violence is sort of taking over the human race, right? So there's a larger context. There's even a larger context of violence in Splinter Cell and a bunch of other games. So I don't know. So I guess that's my spiel about Ready or Not. And it's too bad because it just comes across really like edgelordy and really like shock jockey and corny and tacky. And it doesn't need any of that.
Yeah.
Like another game I play is called Ground Branch, where it's a like a Ghost Recon type game. Similar concept, hyper realistic. It does the people you go against are just generic baddies, and it's just as intense. It's just as difficult. It's just as tactical, but it's like I don't have cheesy drawings on the wall. I don't feel like I'm losing anything when I don't have that in Ground Branch, because it's just, again, it fulfills that like check your corner, stack at the door, frag and clear, like all that stuff is still awesome. So when I play Ready or Not, I think to myself, what are you adding by making all these settings that are like edgy and based on real life events? It's like, to me, it doesn't add anything. It comes across like it's a 14-year-old who wants to shock somebody, so they write some insane fan fiction. That's what it kind of comes across as. But anyway, I will still keep playing Ready or Not because I am enjoying it. And when you play with a team and you're working together and you do stack up at doors and like you flash and clear and you call out enemies and you actually work together, it's really exciting. Because the gameplay is really good, and it's very difficult. It's easy to mess up, and then that's it for you.
Is it like one? Excuse me. Is it realism to the point where it's like one shot, like depending on where you get hit?
Yeah. It can. You can wear armor, so it's actually it's somewhat forgiving in that respect. You can take a few shots before you go down. At least I can, because on my character I wear like huge body armor, so I can take a few shots. But if enemies aren't wearing armor, they'll go down in like a shot or two.
Right.
Okay. So it's real. And also when you get shot at, kind of like in Battlefield, the screen around you
gets red.
Is like it gets like
impacted.
Warped. Yeah. So there's a suppression effect that's quite emphasized. So if you're getting shot at, it's difficult to return fire, not only because you're trying to take cover, but also because your screen is blurring. And I don't mind stuff like that. I think it's fine. I think that's a good way to gamify suppression, because oftentimes in games, it's difficult to gamify suppression because, like in a Battlefield, for instance, I don't know. Yeah, you can suppress the enemy with an LMG, but like if you kill me, I'm going to respawn in 3 seconds. Yeah. The idea of suppression in real life is people don't respawn. So you can gamify it by making yourself unable to return fire because it's just physically impossible to see, or because spawns are like extremely limited. So in Ready or Not, I think by default, if you die, you're out.
Yeah.
So that's why suppression is like dangerous in Ready or Not. And squad suppression is important because respawning means you're respawning far away, so you have to take time to get back to your position. So firefights matter more than something like something like Battlefield. But in any case, okay, that's what I've been playing, and we will hit the news and talk stuff I really want to talk. Thanks for listening. If you like our content, please consider subscribing or leaving a like and comment. You can find us at patreon.com/thegamingdiscourse. And our tiers are $2, $4, $7, and $10 and include getting your name in the video credits, early access, and access to our Discord server. Do you ever watch the Lemmy Show? Have you ever watched that?
No, I don't think.
I feel bad for this because I think he does it on purpose. Where he has a Scottish accent, I think.
Okay.
And he like accentuates his Scottish accent.
Oh, okay. Turns it up.
He was playing through Oblivion when the remaster came out last year, and I forget what happened, but his character got killed, and then there was a bug where his character got like flung through the air, and in a thick Scottish accent, he just said something like, "He bloody killed me," like really loud. It was really funny. Anyway, so let's talk about some stuff coming out of GDC, guys. An AI investor is sad people don't like AI. First reported by Tyler Wilde at PC Gamer during a panel about, oh God, I hate, I'd rather eat a cockroach than say this. During a panel about how the games industry can capitalize on shifting trends in consumer engagement, Moritz Behr-Lintz, I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation, head of gaming at Lightspeed Venture Partners, said he is shocked and sad that the industry has not embraced AI and accused anti-AI game developers of demonizing a marvelous new technology. Behr-Lintz speculated that one reason people don't like Gen AI is due to the industry's layoffs post-COVID. It could be because of that. It could be people may not like forest fires because they're dangerous and they destroy swaths of land. That could be a reason. Lightspeed Venture Partners is a firm with investments in Anthropic and other AI companies, as well as major investments in gaming studios and a stake in Epic Games. Meanwhile, Microsoft announced that Gaming Copilot will be coming to Xbox Series S and X later this year. Copilot is Microsoft's essentially like chatbot. I believe it's based on ChatGPT, so you can like Copilot, tell me to do a thing, and it'll tell you how to do that thing. Reading a piece from Kotaku's Ethan Gotch, quote, Microsoft shared a few examples of how the feature works in a brief video. In one clip, a man's voice is telling the player how to optimally calibrate their Ford Escort in Forza Horizon. In another, it's telling a player how to get started in Sea of Thieves. A third example included explaining where to earn a specific drop needed to complete a quest in Diablo 4. Gaming Copilot is where Zhang and Yadav spent most of their time. Those are the speakers during the conference. Data from early testing revealed a couple of interesting results. While the feature can be used to help players find games they might want to play from the store or Game Pass, that was only 25% of usage. More popular was Game Assistance at 30% of usage. Most surprising was that 19% of usage was just people talking to Copilot for the hell of it. Currently only on PC and mobile, Gaming Copilot is rolling out to Xbox Series S and X consoles later this year. The potential to developers is obvious. Better game discovery means linking potential players to stuff they'll actually enjoy. Better game help means getting them past friction points and helping them, quote, get to the fun more quickly, making it less likely that they bail. And as Microsoft stressed throughout the presentation, these features are all working at the platform level. While companies can try to customize them for their games, it'll be whether they decide to put in the work or whether to put the work in or not. And then just today we had the team lead at I forget that on Subnautica 2 was reinstated by judge in Delaware after they showed that the Crafton CEO consulted ChatGPT on how to get out of the $250 million payment they were going to get for reaching a certain milestone. And NVIDIA unveiled DLSS 5, which I'm not a tech person. I'm not going to be able to sit here and tell you all about anti-analyzing and screen space occultation and whatever. I don't even know the words. But DLSS 5 just looked like just a filter, just an AI filter on stuff. It did make things look noticeably worse. Mm-hmm. like it just looked like an AI rendering of the character from the game.
Yeah, and then characters who have a distinct look completely different. Look like completely different person.
Yeah. Okay, there's a lot to dig in here. So I'll let you guys go first. If you guys have thoughts about, one, the comments made by that venture capital dude. Two, about, I don't know, are you interested in Copilot as a concept? Do you think that would work? Do you think you're interested in it? Do you think people would use it to the point that it becomes like a thing people would pay for?
I actively turn off Copilot on all my devices.
Okay, well, there's Connor's answer. Why is that?
Because it's intrusive and it doesn't do anything that I can't use my, learned skill of Googling for and talking to people.
Yeah. That would be one. Go ahead.
That's a major draw for it too, because I look at these examples that they give, the first two examples out of the three examples that they give for like how to calibrate their Ford Escort in Forza Horizon or whatever, and particularly telling a player how to get started in Sea of Thieves. When I hear the second example more than the first one, it's all a matter of how I feel, making the consumer addicted and reliant to not learning and to not to always have to ask the thing, to always have to engage with Copilot. And just like Connor said, I can just Google this stuff, and of course somebody will retort, oh well, the AI gets all of its results from the Google. And it's like, okay, well, where do those results come from? They come from a human who has like written a guide, who has studied something. My wife and I, as a quick anecdote here, my wife and I went to a nursery today, plant nursery. and and it was in this guy's backyard. Like it was actually stunning. I won't go into it, but we were speaking to him, and he was a very nice guy. Spoke very calmly, but he was very. I told my wife it was how I feel like I am at work when I talk to people. I am more inclined to believe somebody that knows what they're talking about when they're calm and direct about the thing that you ask them. So if somebody asks me, like, why they can't find certain things, I will start to go into the fact that, we rented games back then. We didn't buy them. You can't resell something that was never bought in the past, blah, 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 but came from a human. It came from a person who has like these sorts of experiences.
Yeah.
And so that reliance on a machine to do it just has that like very big disconnect of why should I believe you? And I can't believe like the Ford Escort like calibration Forza Horizon. I play Forza Horizon. It's just like Diablo. There's a green number that goes up. There it is. That's how it is.
Even on that, I just right now, optimal Ford Escort build, Forza, and I have options.
Yes, and not just that, you don't have one way of doing it. You have 5 guys arguing on a forum about how to do it, and you find your own way because it's what you like. That's another problem. Nobody does
or
what
you
they
subscribe
like
to
anymore.
one of the 5 guys, and you're like, "This is how I do it because this is how he does it. I like how he does it."
Exactly.
Or how many times do you, when you're playing an RPG, do you open like sometimes when I play an RPG, I'll Google like fun builds, and I'll find 4 different Reddit posts with different builds, and I'll open each one. And I'll also read the comments of people talking about, like, having a conversation about, well, I didn't like this build as much because of the perks in the game, or, so it's like, okay.
Try swapping this perk out for this perk if you want to do this a little differently.
And it's a very unscientific, like, method of data gathering, sure. But the point is that I'm just getting an idea of, like, because I don't have 10 people who have played the game right next to me.
Yeah.
So the next best thing is to consult comments hopefully from 10 people, or real people on Reddit, although even there you're not sure today. But I think, the thing that I see here is, and Richard, I think you're correct, is I think it's so one, I think they're trying to solve the problem of how do we keep people away from their phones, because that's what Satya Nadella talks about, right? Is gaming's competitor is short form video. So let's say you're playing a game, and let's say you run into some kind of problem. That friction, then, instead of being viewed as like just a natural thing, natural phenomenon that happens when you engage with art, when you engage with something that's interactive, all of a sudden it is now a problem because there is a chance that person may get bored and open up TikTok, and then like that, you've lost their
them,
engagement,
yeah.
right? Now that does suck from a developer standpoint. It would suck if you make a game and you test it and it goes out to the wild and somebody doesn't like it because it just doesn't click for them. That's going to happen naturally, but yeah, there are times when maybe that's avoidable if maybe the developer did a better job here, or if the player like tried a little bit harder and or paid a little bit more attention. Like that's a whole field of discussion. But like Microsoft's whole perception of it is we just want it to stop happening because we want to consume as much attention as possible. So don't go to Reddit, don't go to IGN or GameFAQs or whatever. Don't go to the forums. Don't go to the Discord. Don't break out of the game and go anywhere else because we want your eyes and your attention directly on in this ecosystem that we have built, right? So it's trying to cut out the Googling, right? Or the consultation of other sources, which Google is also trying to do themselves through the way that they've changed how Google search works, and they've actively made Google has actively made their only like largely successive product actively worse because of AI. So that's kind of what I see here. I see Copilot as like an unnecessary fix to a problem that I don't necessarily think is a problem all the time. I think it's just a natural thing that happens again when you engage with interactivity or art. You know, one of the first things I do sometimes when I'm done watching a movie, my wife and I, is we look up people's interpretations of things, you know, because we talk amongst ourselves and it's like, well, there's only two of us. So is there an interesting Reddit thread? Is there an article on it? Is there an interesting review? And so that's neat. And yeah, I would hope that we're getting it from humans and not a chatbot that is just aggregating things and delivering it in a unoriginal way that secretly looks original. If you know what I'm saying, because they repackage it to make it look like the bot is like saying something or whatever. So maybe that's a cynical way of like me viewing this, but I don't know. I think that's kind of what's going on here. And I really don't like the idea that like, because I understand, I've heard before that, you know, if a person gets bored in the first 5 minutes, then that's it with your game. But it's like, what can you do? How much? I don't know, man. Like what? If you get bored in the first 5 minutes of Resident Evil Requiem, then you just don't like Resident Evil.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing that they should do in the first 5 minutes of that game to try and get people who get uninterested in it that quickly. Like at that point, you just don't. If you sit down to watch a baseball game and you're bored by the third pitch, that's not the game of baseball's fault. Yeah. You just don't like baseball, and that's fine. Don't watch it. But please don't force Major League Baseball to try and like figure out a way to change the sport so that they get your eyes on it, because that's not the market that they should be going after. So I don't know. I don't like this idea of, I just don't like the word friction. That just comes across like, I understand it's true and it does exist, but it just within the context of like generative AI bullshit, it comes across like this is the only way to solve those things, and it's a problem that must be solved, as opposed to being just a natural part of interacting with art. I don't know. Yeah. So what was the other fucking thing I did, you know, I was actually meant to
filthy human
give myself a little Don LaGreca there. Do we feel bad? Because I guess we are anti-AI. We're not developers. Do we feel bad that this guy gets up in the morning and he opens up his closet and he's got like 18 of the same exact blazer. He's got a picture of Elizabeth Holmes that he like tipped over when he realized that she just lied about everything. And he's like, I don't know if I can put on a blazer and go talk at like the fucking Institute for how to exploit child labor in other countries conference today, because I'm just so sad about anti-AI demonization. But I don't know. Do we have any thoughts on that?
Maybe he should talk to Copilot about it.
He could. I mean, they shouldn't be surprised at how much people don't like AI. a large majority of people in the hobbyist landscape that is PC gaming or just PC tinkering in general can't afford these products anymore because of AI.
Oh my God, yes, that's a really good point.
There's environmental issues because of AI. There are layoffs because of AI.
Yeah.
Like, it is not. You can't sit here and say, man, it's a bummer you guys don't like this thing, when we can literally have a direct correlation to several things that is being caused by the thing that you are trying to force upon us.
That's such a good point. That's why it's so absurd.
Yes, and that's exactly it. And I can't say anything else than that, because it's another case of how many times I've said it in the last 2 months. Just the suit's not getting it.
Yeah.
Not understanding the whys and just not understanding the whys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's it.
To piggyback off of that with and just go into the DLSS 5, for that they used two 5090s.
Yeah, I did see that. I watched that
Wow.
Digital Foundry video. Which I like Digital Foundry, but that sometimes I think they're like, I don't know, if you created a bomb that automatically killed all trees on Earth and then demonstrated it to Digital Foundry, you showed it to us, I'd be like, holy shit, this thing should not exist. Mm-hmm. Digital Foundry would be like excited because the technology's cool.
Yeah.
But it's like, guys, I understand you guys like technology, but maybe think of the implications here. So it's like, I like Digital Foundry, but sometimes
beyond that, they're like, hey, if you want to do this, just casually drop at minimum $4,000 on your gaming PC for 2 pieces of hardware.
Yeah, and they eventually want it to run on a single card. But even then, if they get it there, if AI keeps...
then minimum $2,000.
Yeah, because if the way things are going with the price of hardware, like it's even if you get it running on one card, it's still going to cost a shit ton of money, right? And that's to the point that Richard made, is like this guy complaining about why people are demonizing AI. Well, it's like, RAM is more expensive than it's ever been right now. And it's because it's powering stuff that nobody wants. And I guess that's the end of it. It's doing a thing that like nobody wants. And AI exists because these companies need ways to find endless growth instead of just create sustainable economic success. And that is not sustainable. Like endless growth is not sustainable mathematically. There are limited number of humans on planet Earth. We've talked about this before. So it's like, even if they somehow achieved growth every quarter from here ad infinitum, at some point ad infinitum wouldn't be true, because you couldn't grow further than the world economy has capacity for. Yeah. So it's like, at some point you're going to drop off and you're going to meet a cliff. And so it's like, why not just accept the fact and try and build something better instead of endless growth? And so that's why this exists right now. That's why the metaverse exists. That's why a lot of investment in cryptocurrency existed. That's why NFTs existed. Do you remember the guy for Ubisoft who was like, I don't understand why people don't like NFTs. Mm-hmm. You could have digital ownership. And it's like, well, dude, then you're in the wrong industry if you don't understand this, because then you don't understand video games. And that's, I don't know, that's what this kind of reminded me of is, I don't know if this guy plays games. I don't know if he enjoys games. But it's like, if you did, I don't see how you cannot agree with us. I don't see how you could look at the state of the industry and go, I wish people wouldn't demonize AI. And I think it's important to point out, when we say AI is taking jobs, I think it's important to say that, as far as I know, that is, we're speaking into abstractions here. Yeah. So it's not like literally Microsoft is firing people, and I'm sure this has happened somewhere at some company. But just for the sake of the discussion, I don't think Microsoft is literally firing people and then literally replacing them with generative AI somehow. Mm-hmm. Because there are questions as to whether or not generative AI can even do those jobs effectively. Right. But if you're talking about, like, do we want to fund Tango Gameworks, or do we want to take that money and shove it into an area that has to do with generative AI? That is what I see happening. That's the abstraction, right? So they're not necessarily replacing Tango Gameworks with generative AI, but what they are doing is shifting investment and capital from those areas to the AI areas.
Right.
They're prioritizing those other things, which I think is why it's accurate to say people are losing jobs to AI. Not necessarily because they're being replaced by it, but because the priorities are shifting. And I think, again, we see that as they're putting something that nobody wants onto a console that nobody has wanted up till this point. And at a time when everyone is super skeptical of Xbox's future. And they keep saying the right things. Hey, we're in this for a long term, but it's like, whatever, you'll say whatever you need to say to stay afloat for the moment. But do you guys have anything to say about this? Any other?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If any, any executives, any investors are listening in on this podcast as they normally do, sure. If you want the secret sauce on how to capitalize on the shifting trends in customer engagement, try making good games.
Yeah, which...
How about that?
No, yeah, and I say that too. There is no skeleton key in the games industry.
Yeah.
Partially because it's so broken, right? Battlefield 6 just laid off people. It was one of the best selling, if not the best selling game from last year.
Yeah.
And just laying people off. So it's literally that Fred Armisen meme from Parks and Rec. Make a bad game, go to jail. Find a game, go to jail. Make a good game, believe it or not, straight to jail. It's like there's not much you can do there.
And me just saying make a good game is a little tongue in cheek. But
yes, yeah.
If you're focusing on not games in the gaming industry, then you're doing it wrong from the first step.
Well, that's oh, sorry, go ahead.
You should be more focused on making games, even if they're mediocre games. A mediocre game will sell more than a pipe dream AI game.
That is
that's probably true.
It's very true. Look at the Poppy Playtime
$5 is more than $0. It doesn't take an economics degree to figure that out.
Okay, so with that sentiment in mind, I want to just kind of rant a little bit about VR for a second real quick. And if you guys want to chime in, that's fine.
Why? What happened?
So Andrew Bosworth, and this was at the beginning of March, but I haven't gotten to it yet. But I wanted to get to it today. Andrew Bosworth, Meta CTO and head of Reality Labs, and he has kind of an infamous reputation for saying things that make people mad, did an AMA on Instagram again at the beginning of March. Someone asked, do you feel that you have failed VR gaming fans with so many sunsets and studio closures? Bosworth replied, it's really up to people to decide whether I failed them or not. I suppose it does raise the age-old question, is it better to have loved and lost than to have loved at all? Many of the people who might see I failed them would say so because they loved things that I gave them and are mad that the gravy train has come to a stop. But I still respect that. I don't think I failed them because failed them because obviously they're already fans. They love the work. The people that argue that I have failed them are not yet VR gaming fans, who I think could be, who we hoped would be by now, but who aren't. And I haven't built the right thing or the right software to get them into the ecosystem. That is the failure. That is what we're trying to attack in new and different ways, is to grow the base to make this thing sustainable. Meanwhile, Steam is still planning to release the Frame this year. We don't know a whole lot about it. Obviously, again, with AI investments destroying the tech industry, hardware is all up in the air right now at this point. I guess what I wanted to say about this, I don't think it's Bosworth's fault specifically, obviously, because he's just one man. But I just kind of wanted to reiterate the point that I've made multiple times, that I think what Meta has done to VR gaming over the past 10 years has been a net negative. Yes, they have subsidized studios. You have Asgard's Wrath. You have, the Batman Arkham game that got really good reviews. The Assassin's Creed game, Nexus, that got good reviews.
Resident Evil 4.
Resident Evil 4 remake. That was excellent. That was amazing.
Yeah.
But what's the problem? All of those things are locked to the Meta Quest, which is a fine headset. But I think it's a relatively cheap headset that flooded the market, and a lot of people got it, and they played Beat Saber
Yep.
and VR chat, and then they kind of checked out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's partially because VR is just going to always be niche because of its form factor, because it's big. It's put it on your head, that causes all sorts of problems. And that's just the nature of the thing. You can't get past that. And so I think maybe that inflated people's idea of what VR could be. The market shifted to the Meta Quest. I think that alienated the PC audience. You had games like Onward, which had to go with a graphical downgrade to fit onto the Quest, and they had to do that because the market share that the Quest had dominated the market. Mm-hmm. So if you were a game developer and you wanted to put your game out there in a niche place, you would have to put it on Quest, right? And if you wanted cross-platform and all that stuff, Quest was the platform that you would have to like make your game work for, mm-hmm. and then PC would be sort of the secondary platform. And so that happened with a lot of stuff. When that happened with Onward, that was right as, I'm going to say this as, I can't prove this, so I'm going to say this anecdotally, but I played Onward for a long time. It was one of my favorite games, and Onward had a niche community of people that played it that were into like tactical milsims and stuff like that. And as soon as it shifted to the Meta Quest and started to downgrade things, I think that audience got alienated, and I think that's what hurt the game. And then, unfortunately, Downpour Interactive was closed down just last year. I'm not saying that's Downpour's fault. If anything, that's Meta's fault. But so it's like, I don't like his whole entire quote. I think is interesting because it seems like he both wants to take responsibility, but also say, but you know, what else can I do? While also saying, how about you be happy with what I gave you?
Yeah.
So, so there's like a lot of different things there. So, but just setting aside his quote, because again, I don't think it's his fault specifically, but Meta as a company, yeah. If 10 years ago, if they said, and I feel like Meta could do this, if they said, hey, sure, we'll put Asgard's Wrath on Steam. There's a whole market out there.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll put it on PS2 VR.
If needs it.
If you're so, and I know it's not, I'm not saying it's easy. Of course, it's not easy to do that stuff. But you have the money. You're Meta, yes. Right?
Yeah.
There's a grandma in Missouri that just browsed Facebook for an afternoon. And congratulations, you just got all the ad money you needed to port fucking Batman over to the Steam store. Like, I'm sure you could do it. So it's just like, you have the capital to do it. I assume you have the means to do it. You just kind of have to be willing to break out. But for whatever reason, they had this like old mentality, old console exclusivity mentality when that's not what the market needed. If you wanted to build the VR market up, then you were going to need to put all these games on separate platforms. And if we ever got to a point where it was like a console war type economy, then maybe exclusives would become a necessary evil, right? As we're kind of seeing return somewhat in the console space. But before then, the market is not big enough to I think, warrant console exclusives.
Yeah.
And by doing so, you are suffocating your own ability to grow the market. So, I don't know. So, but again, Meta's not a gaming company. So they're not going to be focused on this anyway. And a part of me thinks they knew all that, but they just didn't give a shit because, look at these glasses. And so they're off and running. Is there anything you guys would like to say about any of this before we move on?
I love VR. I know you do too, but it is a tough nut to crack as far as gaining more audience because audiences for motion products particularly are very small, and they're big at first and then they become very small. And they're big at first because there's that one thing that they latch onto, whether it be the Wii and Wii Sports, and whether it be the Kinect and Just Dance. It is Beat Saber and VR, because being on the register side of things, people bought those things for Beat Saber, and then they went, well, what else is there? But they never took the time to actively look, to actively let themselves go into these things. And so, yeah, it became a headset that was just sitting around. The novelty ran off, so to speak, which, sure, I can understand the argument that VR is a novelty, but I've played enough and you've played enough to know that it has the potential to not be a novelty, especially with hand tracking nowadays.
Yeah.
I think most of the outlook of VR and most of the performances of VR is on Meta's hands and no one else's. And I see consoles nowadays, because of how we're moving in the technology landscape, is just like owning different cars. You know, like a Honda, Toyota, they all do the same damn thing, but what do you like? You know, how would you like to do so when it comes to the Meta Quest, the Steam Frame, Vive, you know, HTC, whatever, or the HTC Vive. You could have Resident Evil 4 on all three of those. You'd make more money on all three of those from your development costs. Just let people decide how they want to experience it rather than keeping it locked to yourself and going, we're not making money off this thing. And it's like, okay, well, Meta, if you want to make your money back, make deals with other people.
Yeah.
Or if you want to cut your losses, sell those developers. You know?
Divest instead of just closing them.
Because everybody loves to lay off people nowadays, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Steam wouldn't mind some extra hands in the VR, you know, world as well.
Yeah, and I think it's a good sign I think the Steam Frame is a good sign, because it seems like there are still people at Valve that believe in VR. And Valve, I think, sort of spearheaded this way back in like 2015, 2014, kind of spearheaded this generation of VR with Oculus.
Mm-hmm.
And when I mean with, I don't mean like together. I mean just two companies that were sort of like at the same time trying to figure out what to do with this technology. That obviously led to Half-Life Alyx and to the Index, which is a good headset. So that they haven't given up on it makes me it's encouraging. And if all of a sudden the Steam Frame comes out and maybe we see increased interest, then to me that would mean that the market is there. It's just the companies that control it just have been doing a shitty job with it.
Yeah.
Which, you know, by companies I mean Meta. Okay. Is there anything else before we do the tidbits?
I'm good.
Let's do tidbits as soon as I... What if I told you, in this world, there are bits, and there are tids, and Richard is the only man who can put them together into tidbits.
We got 3 tidbits for us today. First one being, and you've probably seen this already, turns out Pokemon Go players were helping to map out the entire world and feed it to AI.
I saw the headline, but
yeah.
How did that work? What was going on?
So Pokemon Go, you know, released in 2016. When you caught Pokemon, you can do an AR mode to where it showed where you were catching them in the real world. All of those photos and all those scans of those real world areas,
oh my god,
have produced massive data set. Over more than 30 billion real world images have now been uploaded somewhere. The company is using that data to power visual navigation for delivery robots, letting them identify exact locations on city streets without relying on GPS. But, you know, it could be used for other stuff. I don't know what exactly, but yeah, every single Pokemon Go player playing that game and doing all that. That's what you guys have done for us.
We need better privacy laws.
Absolutely. We're not getting them. Patriot Act, baby. Xbox One has been hacked.
I saw that.
Yeah. After 12 years, it was thought to be made unhackable. I thought it was unhackable too. There's a lot of, I'm going to read some stuff. Flies right over my head, you know, a little more techie, but let's see here. Decade-long unhacked hardware. There's a hardware glitch inside of the boot ROM. So when the console boots up inside of the ROM, there's a backdoor that you can use as it's booting up. It bypassed MPU jails, randomized stalls, eFuse ECC protections, and crypto chains. Achieved a PC hijack, supervisor execution, full eFuse, key dump, decrypted stages. It's unpatchable on original FAT models. So
Okay.
S models and newer, you can't hack it. This is only for the original FAT model of Xbox One. Similar to the launch model of the Switch, those can be hacked, but after they found the backdoor for that, they shut it off. So requires some soldering, 3 to 4 wires. Yeah, there's a lot of.
This doesn't sound easy.
No, it doesn't sound easy. But once the door is open, that's it.
Yeah.
As I reported, I think last year on the Xbox 360, that finally got hacked, and within 2 weeks, they cut down the time from like 2 minutes to like less than 10 seconds to hack your system.
That stuff's
So
interesting.
once the door is open, yeah, it's just a matter of time before it gets. So
that's interesting. Okay.
And then Nintendo Switch 2 released a new firmware like an hour or two ago. What's interesting about this is that it adds a handheld mode. It added a handheld boost mode, which allows all original Switch games, all of the software from the original Switch, to run on your TV as if it was in TV mode. That means every single game from the Switch can run natively on the Switch 2 handheld mode as if it was running on full screen.
Interesting.
So it's using the full power of the Switch 1 to run on handheld mode.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
So instead of I really don't have a good example actually, because I don't know the like frame rates and stuff like that. But you know, on the Switch for Breath of the Wild, you would get a better frame rate and performance on handheld mode because the resolution was smaller rather than, you know, on the TV. But
yes.
But now like you just get the best mode possible on Switch 2, like from the jump.
Cool. I never even considered that with like how the Switch had like 2 different modes.
Yes.
And how that would transition over to the Switch 2.
Yeah, Switch 2 has it as well, because like, you know, in handheld mode it only goes so high, but when you put on the dock it goes 4K, all that stuff. So and that's what earlier when we were talking about how what were we talking about? Crap. Performance from like past gens to like newer gens.
Oh yeah, because I brought up that it seemed like between the 360 and the Xbox One era,
right.
PS3, PS4 era, you had a bunch of games that they like re-released.
Right.
And you mentioned that you could do that for the Switch now because of Switch 2 editions.
Right.
That
Switch
it seems
2,
like
yes.
we may be seeing something similar to that, where a bunch of games that came out for Switch are like re-released as a Switch 2 edition.
And the Switch already brute forces better performance out of older Switch games, depending on the game. But this is also just kind of like another step up, closer to getting like the native Switch 2 version of it or a Switch 2 update. So I think that's pretty cool. That was the biggest thing about this patch today, or this update today. But there's some other things, but who cares?
Yeah,
who cares about game chat?
The first world problem I have with the Switch 2 is it's that Larry David gif where it's like, I could get it on Steam for the Steam Deck, or I could get a physical copy for my Switch 2.
Right. Yep.
Like, and I have to decide between those things, because I know it's never going to be as on sale as it is, on the Switch 2 as it is on the Steam Deck.
I know that problem.
Yeah,
I know that problem.
That is the ultimate first world problem right there.
Because Steam Deck is wonderful, but the Switch 2 is so obviously much more powerful.
And you can. Well, I mean, obviously not all of them are. Some of them are going to be game keys, carts, or whatever. So
right, yeah.
But you have something physical at least in a box, and boxes are cool, and you get to open them and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm an old man, so I still enjoy that.
Oh, I did play. Sorry to another anecdote. I did play the Pragmata demo. Which, I had a ton
what
of
did you
fun
think?
with that. I had a
that
ton
was
of fun.
cool.
Yeah, that was very cool. And I am a sucker for shifting puzzles.
Yes.
So the whole like getting to where it, like I'm all in for it, and it felt good too. It didn't like waste my time. It didn't wasn't freaking out when I had to do it. I wasn't like, oh, I gotta, it would gives you enough time. And then when they started adding in, if you go through the yellow squares, you do more damage. And it's like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, that looked really neat.
It felt good to play. It looked great on Switch 2. Like it looks really good on Switch 2. So So yeah, I'm gonna play Requiem on Switch too. I think just because I want to.
Interesting.
Just because I want to be different.
Yeah.
No, but I'm curious about.
I would love to see how it
performance.
runs.
I'm curious, yeah. So I am gonna grab it on that. So yeah. But yeah, no, I like the Pragmata demo. It was really awesome.
I did too. This is a cliche now.
Yeah.
But it when I played it, I was like, I'm getting big 2010 Capcom vibes right here.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Which that's like it's a cliche now, where it's like if a game that
that's 16 years ago, buddy.
Is this game a 360 game? And like it was Space Marine 2 came out. It's like this game's old school. Now we're like saying it about, but it really did feel. Games are different now in how they're made and the premises of like games, and everything has to be like a giant franchise.
Games are no
something.
longer games anymore.
Yeah.
They're experiences.
Yeah, like you don't have like a Vanquish anymore, where it's like a ridiculous, over the top, stupid, like just the weird idea for like a game.
Yeah.
Now it's like, no, this has to have some kind of tale. So with Pragmata, is it Pragmata or Pragmata?
Pragmata, whatever.
With that, it's like, oh, this is a really neat, this is like a siloed, neat, cool idea for a singular game. Maybe you make a sequel, but it's like, that feels kind of old schooly, I guess, Anyway, okay, follow us, youtube.com/gaming discourse, patreon.com/the gaming discourse. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.